My daughter made $200 in 4 hours. I don't know about y'all, but that's way more money than I made when I was selling candy at recess back in the day. And look, she was begging me for this dollhouse, this Gabby's dollhouse, which is like $100 something. I can't remember the price, and she didn't even buy it at the end. Let's get into it. If you're new here, my name is Titi. Welcome to my channel. I'm at the beginning of my YouTube journey. I spent 15 plus years working at the intersection of communication, innovation, and health tech. And here I am sharing my knowledge and just building a community online. All right, so let me tell you the story about the dollhouse. I am postpartum right now, and I think I'm like 10 weeks out. Stop counting. But I have a newborn. And we were planning a party. I'm a mom of three, I should say that. Wife, mom, daughter, sister, mom of three. We were planning my daughter's party, and we were getting everything together. You know how it is, trying to get the cake, get the food, get the outfits, like the whole shebang. And I forgot to order this girl's gift. I forgot to order her gift. It's okay. It's all right. Because I could have been like, Amazon's going to deliver this kind of late, but I was like, this is a teaching moment. So we took the route of the teaching moment, and we decided that we were going to have her earn her money. And so I knew that there was a kid business fair coming up, and so I signed her up for that. And I was planning on doing that anyway. So I was like, look, you can earn your own money. So earlier during the year, we'd been already kind of priming her and prepping her, and she would sell some of her artwork. You can see some on the wall. These kids, they do what they want to do. You see some on the wall. So I'd have I have her call family members, and like I write down a little script for her. She'll just say like, she's like, oh, hi, how you doing? Would you like to buy some of my art? So I'd have like a little script for her. And so she did this, and I was like, okay, baby girl, it's time for prime time. My oldest daughter is 7. So already, ready for prime time. But I thought this would be a good exercise for her, and particularly because there would be other little kids there. So I signed her up for that, and I was like, okay, we're about to do this, girl. So normally I'd engage her and I'd say, okay, what do you think we should sell? And I did a little bit in the conversation, but I knew she was going to say she wanted a lemonade stand. I'm like, girl, we can do that right away. Don't worry about that. We can get to a lemonade stand. But because we had 2 weeks out, I had to, order materials and supplies and figure out. So I had to like implant in her mind. I was like, what do you think about slime? Wink, wink. She went along with it. At first she's like, no, lemonade. I was like, no, girl, we selling slime. Like I'm telling you now, we're selling slime. So I knew that, slime would be great. I already did the customer discovery for her. It's already been done, okay? Because your girl is an NSF mentor, National Science Foundation mentor as well. So I already knew that the slime could work. So we just went down that route. Because slime is always in these kids' goodie bags from parties. And, some slime is like, you like some, you don't like some. I don't like slime on my carpet, whatnot. But there's some slime that doesn't stick as much, So anyway, I knew that I was going to go with slime, and I knew that I wanted something that wasn't too sticky, because even though you're selling to the kids, you're also selling to the parents. And so if a mom says, oh, this slime is way too sticky, no, the kid is not going to get it. So I knew that we need a slime that would be texturally pleasing, but wouldn't stick to clothes and whatnot. And I've seen other slime do that. And I've been saying slime. We sold slime kits because you don't want just slime. You want to have things in it. And I saw a store that already had this once. That's where I got this idea from, where you can like put fragrances in or little charms into the slime. I have it right here. Let me show you. They're called mix-ins, or at least that's what we called them. So these are little dinosaur charms. So cute, right? We also have other charms like this little baby. Just a bunch of different charms. I'm just picking out a couple. We have so many. That's just a portion, like I said. So we have the charms, and then we also had like little mix-ins. Can you see that? Different mix-ins there. I don't want to spill it on the camera. But just little things like this to mix in. Little beads, just to add more texture and more fun for the kids. So we had little different things, and then we just used a simple spoon for them to put into their slime kit. Okay. So I knew the slime was going to work. The slime kits were going to work and was going to be a hit. And so we just already did that. So let me just go into talking about how we prepared the slime kits and whatnot. So basically, I use Claude. I use some AI to do some heavy lifting. I wanted to make sure that we get the economics right, and I had some ideas. Like I knew I wanted to be in a jar, and I knew that I wanted to have the top. So I had to do some of the research and finding where I can buy some of these things at an affordable price. I knew I wanted to do a label for this, that she made for herself. So there's a little label there that she drew for herself, and I wanted to see. I didn't know how to do this. I didn't know how to take something that she wrote on paper and put it into a sticker form, or to make it into a poster and blow the poster up. So I used Claude to help me brainstorm what I already had in my mind and bring it into fruition, basically, to see exactly how we can make this thing happen. And the same thing for the mix-ins. Like these little mix-ins, I knew, talking to Claude, we knew that the 3D would work a little bit better than like the flat ones. Even though we have some of the flat ones, but we want to have variety there. And then also help me with the texture of the slime. Like I said, I didn't want it to be too gooey, too sticky of that. Gooey's fine. I didn't want it to be too sticky. And also I didn't want to make the slime. I did not want to make the slime because who has time for that? I have a newborn. Like I said, I have a 2-month-old right now, and I don't have time to be in the kitchen making slime and then have to clean up that slime because these kids are going to be like, I'm having so much fun. No. But what they can do is scoop out pre-made slime into these jars, and I even use Claude to brainstorm like how much space I should put in there, because I knew I needed to put some space in there. So then how big should the jar be? Like the really, really intricate details that I didn't want to rack my brain around, but I knew that I wanted spacing, and I had these ideas that I just needed to get through. I used Claude for that. Also, Claude helped me find exactly what I was looking for, or give me some options. Of course, they give you options. Claude would give you options, but you also have to think through like what will work well for you. So I ended up doing this. This is the Elmer's Goo Space Adventure, and they also have it in clear. I sold out of the clear. Come on. But this one has 3 colors, as you can see, and it's really easy to go in here. Like I said, it's not that messy. Oops. It's really easy to go in here. You see? As you play with it, it becomes more, the slime that these kids like. Anyway, as you play with it, it becomes more gooey and all the things. But because it had 3 colors, now I had 3 choices. So it has 3 colors, and because it has 3 colors, I had 3 choices. And this was really economical because I could buy 1 bin. I think I got like 16 of these containers from one of these. Claude helped us do the math, and we measured things out just by eyeballing, and we were able to, get the foundation for the slime kit. Now, I knew that when we get to the table, we had to make it really, really simple for not just my daughter, but for the customers, the kids that would come. And so we just made like a process, like I said, pick, pay, play, pay. We had this actual cash register there. It's a real one too. Look, that's fake money. But at the time we had real money. At the time we had real money there. And so I had to make the station pick, pay, and play. Play is after, so you pick your slime. So I had to make the station pick, pay, play. So you pick, so you pick the slimes that you want. You pick the charms and the mix-ins that you want. You pay for it, and at the end of the table, you mix it in and play, because we wanted to make sure that like you're not messing up the line, so someone else is coming behind you, and that is exactly what happened. Also, I wanted my daughter to understand a process and be able to simply walk her customers through this process, which she did really, really well. She did really, really well. We also she made some posters. Listen, this is such a funny story because I was like, just write slime $10, because we had a lot of different posters. She has another poster that she made for just her business name. And so I could see she was getting tired. And, we did some of this last minute because that's how life is. Sometimes you just gotta just do it last minute. So I was cooking dinner, okay, before my newborn was about to wake up. And, I have another kid, I have a middle child. And she's like, I want to make a poster too. I was like, you do that, girl. You do that. So they both were at the table making posters. And I was like, just write, keep it simple. Slime, $10. Because we wanted the pricing to also be simple so she remembers and she can start doing that mental math. And you could draw pictures, I said. And, I'm making a pasta. I turn back around and she has words and they're misspelled. They're misspelled. I had a moment and then I was like, what are you trying to teach these kids? I had a moment. Then I said, what am I trying to teach my kids? Is it perfection or is it done is better than perfect? Done is better than perfect. Okay. I know what it's like to be in that perfectionism loop. I know what it's like to be in that perfectionism loop, and we just don't want that for her. Plus, it's a little bit charming, It's a little bit charming to have this, and I'll catch her next time. I'll catch her next time. But people knew exactly what she was trying to say. Stretchy, slippery, forgot that L there. Slimy, gooey, forgot the E. But that's okay because the idea was, how do you market your product? Did we get that done? Yes. She learned how to market her product. She put in that sweat equity, she drew it herself, and she's proud of the design, and she's proud of the design that she made. And other people could see the work that she put in as well. And they commented when we went to the fair, and that's what matters. So she could feel proud of what she did and know that she did the marketing, she created her own business name, all these things. Okay. I told you how we did this. I want to tell you why this matters. It's not simply to just teach my kid about entrepreneurship. The world is changing. The world is literally changing. And the way we grew up, where we were told to do well in school, go to college, and you get a good job and you'll be set, that is done. It's done. Hello, I've been laid off. It's done. Okay. And I know many different people who are highly degreed and also have been laid off. And then you see the AI, the shift with AI. And so I don't know what's going to happen by the time she's going to be going off into the real world. And so I wanted her to have certain skills. The first skill is the math skills, just straight up math skills. She's a second grader. She before told me, like, I don't like math. Math is boring. I would have her do worksheets at the table during the summer to make sure there's no summer slide in here. You got to remember some stuff. And she would just be off into space. Like, I'm like, hello, you with me, girl? You with me? You with me? She'd just be off into space. I was like, what is going on? I used to get so frustrated. Like, we've been trying to carry the one for forever. Okay. We need to know how to do this 2-digit math. And she's like, math is boring. I knew she was my child because I remember saying the exact same thing. I remember being in these classrooms where they're just telling me to do these things and solve for X and for Y. And I'm like, what does this have to do with my life? What does this have to do with my life? And so there's plenty of statistics that state how we lose girls right around this age, second, third, fourth grade, because they're just tapping out. And one way to bring them back in is to show them the utility of math. And I knew that, connecting math to her making money, to having to count money, to give people change. She loves giving people change. So you better bring your cash. I knew that connecting these concepts for her would show her the value of learning math and make that matter. So it's no longer than this abstract thing of let's just add these numbers, but that you need to know this if you wanted to sell your slime, buy your dollhouse, go eat out and pay. Like, you need to know these things. And so I could see that connection happening, and you have to know how much to give back. Also, she learned about currency. This is a second grade skill. Like, can you identify $1, $5, $10, $12? Can you identify all these things? And so she can now because she had the motivation to be able to identify this. She also learned social skills. There's some studies that talk about math anxiety and how students can get math anxiety. And this is a real thing where people just kind of tense up and get nervous around having to do math. And so I wanted to start to do some preventative measures, like putting her in a situation where she had to do some mental math where people are gentle with her and letting her take her time to do some math on the spot. And so I also wanted to encourage her, and that's why I kept the price to be $10, something I know that she could do easily, and she didn't have to, do something where the numbers weren't as clean and flat for her to be able to do this in her mind. And so I wanted to make sure that I was encouraging her through the process because there were so many things happening. Back to the social skills. She also learned how to take a rejection. Some kids and adults might just come to the table and browse, and she's like, "Do you want slime?" And they were like, "Well, not today. Not today. It's okay. No, I don't want it." There was someone else selling slime. And so she had to understand that they might not want your product. They might want a different product, or that person might be selling their slime more efficiently. And so she was able to see these things that I didn't have to, sit down and tell her afterwards. But we did sit down, trust me. But she gets to see for herself. She gets to see for herself. Some other social skills that she learned. Haggling. She learned how to stick to the price. The price is the price. And yesterday's price is not today's price. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in there. But she had to learn, there were a couple moms that try to get a deal, and I had to step in and be like, "No, the price is $10. The price is $10." And I needed her to see that, particularly as a young woman, so for her to stand her ground and say, "No, this is the price. I'm not going to diminish the value of what I'm selling because you want a deal. Nah, not right here. Not in this market, not at this time." And so this is something that I'm teaching her as well. She also learned grit. We had to put the things in the car. She helped to lug the slime kits. She helped with setup. She helped with tear down. That is part of the process. Sometimes it takes a while to get a sale. That was part of the process. And I believe that her learning this early on is going to be beneficial to whatever path that she takes, whether it be the entrepreneurial path or if she's taking a job. But having to put the work in, having to sometimes be rejected, being patient, having to alter your sales pitch in real time. These are skills that are priceless. I'm telling y'all, I wish I knew this way earlier in my lifetime, and I did not know that. And here I am, much later on having to learn those skills. And so because I knew it, my girl's going to know this. All three of y'all, all three of them, they're going to learn these skills. And so that was really important. And I saw her kind of come to light, and I'm learning my child. I'm watching her as she is trying new things. She's like, you want to touch my slime? You want to see my slime? And she learned it. I told her in the moment, she's saying like, "Do you want to see my slime? Do you come to my table, guys? Come to my table." And I'm seeing her try things by herself without me having to say things. And then I also told her, "You see that girl over there? Because she was playing for slime. She was playing for slime, and that was attracting people to her table. Do something like that." And so she started doing that, and she brought more customers to her table. Then I said, "Put the slime in their hand. Just put it in their hand, even if they don't ask for it." And we know that it's just like the perfume lady that she just starts to spray you. Some people don't like that. But, if someone puts a product in your hand, you're more likely to engage. And so she learned that, and she saw that was effective many of the times. Not all the time, but many times. And so it was just a great environment for her to be in, for her to make the sale and to learn this. Another thing that she learned about cash and electronic sales. And so for my daughter, I think the electronic sales was a lot for her to wrap her mind around. She was like, "I need cash only." And I was like, "I ain't mad at that. Get the cash, girl. Get the cash." But she had to see, me take Apple Pay or use Square. And I'd explain to her like, "Oh no, I actually have the money. I'll show you in cash when we get home." She's like, "I just prefer cash." I was like, I understand, but this is 2026. And so people have those electronic options. But for kids, I think it's important for them to see the money being exchanged, to see how much money that they made, all of those things. So that was also really, really important. Selling slime is really simple. So like the cash register, we had the jars, stickers, posters. It was really, a low cost business to get off the ground. She got some seed money from her dad, because I told you I got laid off. But we got her. So she got some seed money from her dad to get started. And I explained to that. I was like, hey, you're starting a business. You need an investment. And, we call this seed money. Seed, like you put in the ground to plant, to grow. This is how you start. And I could just see the little wheels turning in her brain, and the connection. And she had fun, which also matters, because you want it to be fun. You want it to be less stressful. You want it to be engaging. You want her to stay with you and get the multiple lessons, not just the math lesson, but there's many psychological lessons. Like I said, how to handle pressure, how to just have that strong grit, and how to handle rejection, and how to adapt in real time, and how to adjust. And all those things matter, and all those lessons matter. And so that was important for her to learn, and including the money habits. We're starting early, so she understands what to do with money. BRB, let me get the jar of money. I can show you what happened after we came back from the fair. Okay, I'm back. I forgot to bring these down. So after the fair, later in the day, after we got some rest and some meals, because you got to celebrate your win, that was also part of it, we counted all the money. We took the real money out of the cash register. I even taught her, like, listen, don't leave the money in your cash register. You put it in your purse, and then you carry that close to you. You don't keep it in the cash register, because like that's part of the money lesson. Okay, don't get jacked. Okay, so I had 3 jars. I learned that from here, the book by Mellody Hobson, where she talks about how to the importance of visually showing your kid money, and we go through different concepts in this book, just sporadically. Like maybe I'll pick up one fact from this book during dinner time, and I'll share it with her so she can understand. But I heard in an interview, I remember hearing Mellody talk about showing them the money and the importance of that. Okay. So I got 3 jars, money to spend. Remember, she wanted that dollhouse. Okay. Money to save. Okay. And then money to invest. And so I explained invest, buy more slime to make more money. I just kept it really, really simple. That's what an investment is, like putting your money to make more money. Okay. Really simple. My daughter's so funny, because once she saw how much money she made, she was like, I don't know if I want that dollhouse anymore. And that is a lesson too, like after you put in all that work, like, do you still want that really expensive thing? Do you? I remember wanting the Jordan shoes. And my parents, we just couldn't afford to buy it. And then when I finally made money, I was like, I ain't about to spend that money on that. I spent it on other shoes though. So anyway, but that's also part of the lesson, like the kids understanding, like the kids really seeing how hard it is to make money, and then deciding what they want to put the value of their money behind. And also sometimes, listen, now that I know that she about her money, when she doesn't do her chores, I'm like, that's $5. Like when she's like wasting my food, that fruit that you should have been eating, I was like, girl, that's $2.99 at the grocery store. Easy. Give me that $5. I'm taking that out the account. And I take it out the spend account, okay? Yep, I take it out the spend account. And then she's like, no, don't take my $5. I was like, well, there's blueberries on your plate that need to be eaten. It's just really that simple, okay? Produce is expensive, especially in this economy. So you going to eat it, or I'm taking some money, okay? And I'm going to treat myself. So she really gets to see the importance of either spending, saving, and investing. And so having that conversations to help solidify the lesson of what you're trying to teach them. I easily saw my daughter kind of come in and be like, oh, okay. And it's way better than sitting them down at the table and having a lecture of saying, like, do you know the importance of spending and saving your money? Like, no, go out here and make some money. I want you to see it at age 7. I can only imagine where she's going to be at 17, 10 years from now, because I plan on continuing to do this with her. And I believe that it should get a little bit easier as we build the muscle and the practice of doing this. And what she plans to build will be more aligned to her interests, although she does love slime. It'll be more aligned to how she grows and what she wants to do. And then we can talk about more I guess, more advanced things like how to use AI in your business. I can help you with that. How we can really go into customer discovery. We can go into creating a minimal viable product. All the things that you hear these startup founders doing, you start small. In the end, I'm rambling. I'm saying you start small. You start small. And as you start small, you're able to build upon these concepts and things in school. Hopefully, I'll check back in here. Will start to stick as far as, different math concepts and why you need to know that, because I can actually show her in real life, in her real business, how to do this. And also, you think if she does go to college, what a great story. You could say you've been running a business for 10 years by the time that she's applying and she graduates at 17. And it would be a true statement. And she can really speak to some of the things that she learned. And if she decides to go to business school, she'll be able to have real concrete experience thinking about as she sits in those lecture halls and she's listening to case studies, and she can really make connections because she has experience and there's not this abstract theoretical thing that she's trying to learn. So that is the goal. I'll keep you guys updated as I continue to shape how she learns about money and how she continues her entrepreneurship journey. All right. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the channel.